Have you ever felt like someone is dropping hints, fishing for attention, or acting strangely around you for no apparent reason? That's not random. In this video, I'm going to expose 13 ways people seek your validation without directly admitting it. These aren't just quirks or harmless habits. They're calculated behaviors stemming from insecurity, and most people don't even realize they're doing them. But you will. After this, you'll see through these patterns and understand what they truly mean. Let's break it down. 1. They constantly showcase their highlights. Do you know someone who always finds a way to tell you about their latest achievement, purchase, or adventure, even when it's completely irrelevant to the conversation? This isn't just excitement, it's a plea for recognition. By parading their highlights, they're saying, "Wait, please notice me, please tell me I'm enough." The need to highlight accomplishments comes from a deeper insecurity about their worth. Someone confident in their achievements doesn't feel the urge to flaunt them constantly. For instance, if a friend always says, "I just bought this expensive watch," or "You wouldn't believe how many people liked my post," they're not just sharing, they're begging for your validation. Here's the truth. Real value doesn't need a spotlight. If someone is performing for your approval, recognize the pattern, but don't feel obligated to feed their need for constant acknowledgement. They're chasing external praise to fill an internal void. 2. They overshare their struggles. We've all had someone dump their problems on us in a way that feels disproportionate to the relationship. It's not about seeking help. It's about eliciting sympathy and ultimately validation. By framing themselves as a victim, they're hoping you'll step in and reassure them of their worth. For example, someone might frequently tell you, "My life is so hard and no one appreciates me," expecting you to respond with, "You're amazing, don't be so hard on yourself." They're not looking for solutions, they're looking for affirmation. If you see this pattern, don't confuse emotional dumping with genuine vulnerability. You're not responsible for constantly propping up their sense of self-worth. Empathy is important, but so is recognizing when someone is using their struggles to manipulate your attention. 3. They subtly imitate you. Have you ever noticed someone suddenly adopting your interests, mannerisms, or even phrases? Imitation isn't always flattery. Sometimes it's a desperate attempt to fit in and gain your approval. By mirroring you, they're trying to signal, "See, we're the same, accept me." This behavior stems from a fear of rejection. People who feel unsure of their own identity often latch onto others as a way of finding social security. For instance, if you mention you're into hiking and suddenly they're all about nature, it's not coincidence, it's mimicry. Be mindful of this. Authenticity is the foundation of any real connection. If someone can't be themselves around you, the relationship becomes a performance rather than a partnership. 4. They seek praise for the obvious. "Did you notice I cleaned up?" Or, "Look, I sent that email you mentioned." Statements like these aren't just observations, they're pleas for recognition. When someone points out basic tasks as if they've moved mountains, they're seeking validation for things they should already feel confident doing. This behavior often originates from childhood patterns, where praise was tied to every action, leaving the person unable to validate themselves without external acknowledgement. For example, someone who constantly says, "I did this because you asked," is looking for more than gratitude. They're seeking approval for being good enough. Acknowledge the effort, but don't overindulge the behavior. Validation for trivial things reinforces dependence on external approval, which only deepens their insecurities. 5. They ask for opinions on trivial matters. "Do you think this shirt looks okay?" Or, "Which coffee should I order?" These questions might seem harmless, but when they're constant, they're anything but. People who rely on others to make minor decisions are often seeking reassurance rather than advice. This stems from a lack of confidence in their own judgment. By asking for your input, they're essentially saying, "Please tell me I'm making the right choice." It's a safety net they've built to avoid the discomfort of trusting themselves. Encourage them to own their decisions. It's not your job to validate every little choice they make. People grow by learning to trust their instincts, not by outsourcing their self-worth. 6. They overcompensate with humor. When someone constantly cracks jokes, even in serious situations, it's often a defense mechanism. Humor becomes their shield, a way to deflect attention from their insecurities while simultaneously seeking validation through laughter. For instance, if someone always turns the focus back to a joke whenever the conversation gets real, They're hiding behind humor to avoid vulnerability. By making you laugh, they're saying, "If you're entertained, you'll accept me." Recognize the difference between genuine humor and overcompensation. If someone can't engage in meaningful dialogue without deflecting, they're likely seeking approval rather than connection. 7. They try too hard to please everyone. Have you noticed someone bending over backward to accommodate everyone around them? This isn't just kindness, it's validation seeking disguised as altruism. People who go out of their way to please others are often afraid of rejection or criticism. For example, someone who always says yes, even to unreasonable requests, isn't just being nice. They're afraid of what saying no might mean for how others perceive them. This people-pleasing behavior can lead to burnout and resentment because it's rooted in external validation rather than genuine generosity. If you see this in someone, encourage them to prioritize their own needs. True relationships thrive on mutual respect, not one-sided sacrifices. 8. They post excessively on social media. When someone floods their social media with curated highlights, it's not just about sharing their life, it's about seeking validation. Every post becomes a way to say, "Look at me, like me, approve of me." Studies show that excessive social media use often correlates with low self-esteem. The likes and comments act as temporary boosts for their confidence, but the underlying insecurity remains. For example, someone who posts daily selfies isn't just documenting their life, they're chasing approval. Recognize this behavior for what it is, but don't feel pressured to engage. External validation from social media is fleeting and doesn't solve deeper self-worth issues. 9. They pretend not to care about your opinion. When someone says, "I don't care what you think," but their actions suggest otherwise, it's a clear sign they're seeking your validation. This reverse psychology tactic is often a way to mask their vulnerability while fishing for reassurance. For instance, a friend might dismiss your feedback on their outfit, but later change into something else. Their words say one thing, but their actions betray the truth. Your opinion matters more than they're willing to admit. Be honest with your feedback, but don't play into the manipulation. Acknowledge their need for validation without letting it dictate your interactions. 10. They constantly bring up past wins. "Remember when I got that big promotion?" Or, "I used to be so fit in college." When someone frequently reminisces about their past successes, they're not just nostalgic, they're seeking your acknowledgement. This behavior often stems from a fear of irrelevance. People who feel like their current self doesn't measure up use past achievements to remind you and themselves of their value. For example, a colleague who always brings up their glory days isn't living in the past. They're stuck trying to prove they're still worth noticing. Recognize the pattern but don't dwell on it. Validation rooted in the past keeps people from growing into their future potential. 11. They exaggerate stories. When someone's stories always seem a little too perfect or dramatic, it's not just storytelling, it's validation seeking. By exaggerating details, they're trying to make their life seem more impressive, hoping you'll be amazed. This behavior comes from a place of inadequacy. People who feel unseen or undervalued often embellish their lives to gain attention. For instance, a friend who claims their weekend was insane when you know they stayed home is creating a narrative to seek your approval. Focus on authenticity. Rewarding exaggeration only reinforces their need to fabricate instead of embracing their true self. 12. They seek your reaction to everything. Do they glance at you after every joke, comment, or decision? Constantly seeking your reaction is a clear sign they're gauging your approval. Your response becomes their barometer for worthiness. This stems from insecurity. People who can't trust their own judgment rely on others to validate their choices. For example, someone who nervously watches your face during a conversation is silently asking, "Do you think I'm okay?" Be aware of this, but set boundaries. Validation should never become a crutch. 13. They frequently apologize for no reason. "Sorry if I'm bothering you," or "I'm sorry for asking." Chronic apologizers aren't just being polite, they're seeking assurance that they're not upsetting you. This behavior often comes from deep-seated fear of conflict or rejection. By apologizing excessively, they're preemptively asking for forgiveness they don't even need, hoping it will keep your approval intact. Acknowledge their concern, but encourage them to trust their place in your life. Over-apologizing only perpetuates their insecurities. If you've spotted any of these behaviors, remember, validation seeking is a reflection of their inner struggles, not your responsibility to fix. Pay attention, but don't let their need for approval control your relationship. If you have made it this far, let us know what you think in the comment section below. For more interesting topics, make sure you watch the recommended video that you see on the screen right now. Thanks for watching.